This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'm Matt Fanslow, and is that a star? No, that's Ted Danson. Did I just quote Doc Hollywood? Yes, I did. And if you're curious, it is the live-action version of Disney's Cars. Don't believe me? Watch them. That, and after a word from our sponsor, I'll talk to my guest about sweat equity. Check out our NAPA Autotech Facebook page to find out the latest NAPA Autotech virtual class scheduled at a time that is convenient for you. Learn from the comfort of your home. All right, a man who needs no introduction at all. The beast from the East, Bryan Pollock.
How you doing tonight?
Did you sweat today by chance?
I didn't have to do too much sweat equity tonight. I got a new battery. I found a battery for the OG Modus. I got one of those up and running.
Not the raised display?
I'm sorry, you know what? It is the raised display.
Well, that's a little bit better.
Yeah, I think you can put a screen in it if you want. I think the original one.
If memory serves, that's considered like the Avenger board?
Yeah. I'm on a kick lately. I'm on an old tool kick. I don't know what's going on.
We found a valuable resource for these older yet extremely useful tools.
Yeah, I found an old Snap-on guy that's just got a warehouse full of them.
I mean, I already have one. I don't know what I'd do with more. He's talking about the old Vantage, which I talked about quite a bit recently. The Vantage Pro.
I have one of those.
Which is one of my all-time favorite. I think I have 3.
Ooh, you fancy.
I have 3.
Do you have any demo only, not for sale ones?
No, I'm not that special. I had to buy all mine. I didn't even get to steal them.
I have a MT2400 demo only and a Vantage Pro also demo only. That's gray. The gray demo only loaner. I feel extra special.
Another one that's sought after is, I think, blue. The blue ones, I think, were for Volvo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wonder how I get my hands on one of those.
I know, now it's a race.
Oh, I was death scrolling on Facebook Marketplace last night trying to find an MTG 2500.
I have one of those. I bought it. Oh my God. Dude, we're supposed to be talking about sweat equity, but this is great. Sometimes on Facebook Marketplace, I just kind of scroll around looking for scan tools, what's out there. And it's always like Innova crap. And then, of course, boatloads and boatloads of launch and older Autel, stuff like that.
And then some guy that wants $800 for an old Genesis or something. It's not collectible, right?
Not worth collecting. I don't even know if I would collect a Monitor 2000, 4000.
Yeah, it's not collectible. I don't know. The Snap-on ones are collectible, it seems like. In our own minds, I guess. Everybody else probably thinks we're morons.
Well, I have no doubt. There's quite a few that think I'm a moron. More off than on, I'll tell you that. It just popped up on my feed one day for like $800, and it was beautiful. So then I thought like the $800 was one of those lures, like, no, $800 down, and then I'll take $1,200 and it's yours. No, $800, beautiful, like brand new, probably used twice.
Oh man,
graphing red brick.
That's how my regular 2500 is. I bought that. I got that at a garage sale for $250, and I took the original screen protector off it. Used probably a dozen times or something.
You would think Minnesota, we would kill off most of the OBD1 stuff, pre-95.5, whatever, 96 if you will.
There's so many Corvettes and Firebirds and Camaros out there. It's ridiculous, man. They're everywhere.
Yep. And Snap-on isn't like the end-all be-all sometimes, but for the vast majority of what we're doing on that stuff, it's so great. Graphs, beautiful, fast, so fast to navigate.
So on a 94, like a 94 F Super Duty with a Power Stroke, the red brick's where it's at. What else are you going to hook up to that thing? What else you got laying around you're going to hook up to it?
What year?
Right? 94.
I would try my NGS.
Yeah.
I have the regular NGS or NGS, what they call that.
And then you even get into one that's got an OBD2 that's got I call it the OBD2 connector. That's not technically accurate.
Yeah, the dummy one. Or
you get that one and you get a couple of years newer. And like if you're trying to scan the truck while it's running, like with an Autel tool, it'll shut off while you're scanning it, which that's super annoying.
I have BMWs do that.
Yeah. I think that's by design. Yeah. This is different.
Justin, you'll have to report.
Yeah. The answer will be way too technical. We'll be sitting here melting.
He'll reach out to me with a phone call. Few barbs. Yeah. If you're doing a lot of older GM, a red brick, and then Master Tech, if you can find them, are great. Of course, the Tech 1, but Tech 1 was a really small screen.
I have a Tech 1. It's horrible compared to the brick. I'll grab the brick before I grab my Tech 1. I have my Tech 1 just to tell people I have a Tech 1. It's the only good use for it. What's it do? It sits there. Why do you have it? So I can tell people I got it.
Yeah, the reason I got one in the first place was it was like one of the few tools that would do minimum air rate without the big to-do.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
So you clean the throttle plate or whatever, and you'd have to go through start it up, let it warm up, sit in gear with no AC on for 2 minutes. In gear, out of gear, AC on, all that. This would just kind of scan tool driven, done.
Yeah, you smash the buttons and it goes. Yeah, you can't beat that.
Evidently, we could do an episode just on vintage scan tools.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't. You imagine listening to us ramble on about old pieces of plastic?
They might market it as like a sleep aid.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is people listen to this while they're driving. Yeah, better get back on track.
Sweat equity, what does it mean to you?
Sweat equity means all those nights some of us have stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning, whether it's sometimes at the shop, sometimes it's just reading through stuff, sometimes it's with a module on the bench in the garage, trying to figure out how to maybe do something on the bench. I can't imagine the thousands of hours spent reading on forums. I'm not the grand poobah of auto repair. There's certainly metric tons of people better than me at this. But to make an attempt to stay in the game, the amount of time after hours spent by people, it doesn't come as easy as everybody would have you think.
Yeah, there's all that time and effort for what you're talking about. Learning, getting that one car out, staying late, sometimes not paid. A lot of times not paid. Like if you're on a salary, you're doing it by choice. Like I'm not saying the owner or manager is demanding that you come in on a Saturday or a Sunday or...
It's what they call an ego car. When you can't fix the car and it's embarrassing. And now in order to repair your fragile ego, you have to fix the car.
Well, there's all that time, but also I think one of the key components is that it's contributing or along with all these other efforts beyond the 8 to 5 that contribute to production, to the reputation of the business.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of us have put in a lot of time. It has helped the business grow, gain more notoriety, whatever it is, reviews, maybe employees, people coming in because they want to work at that shop because they've heard about what you can do or have done. Any number of things like that where it doesn't show up in your paycheck. You may, and it's hard. A pinch of modesty is very valuable. And what I'm talking about here is like, I might admit to feeling like I have a net positive effect on the shop from when I started to now, but I don't know. And I'm sure if I wanted to, I could really dive into numbers and I could go get it. I could figure it out. It would suck, but I'm sure I could figure it out. I kind of feel like my boss needs to be able to go, you've been integral to helping take us from where we were to where we are. Whatever that means, that's going to be different from shop to shop to shop to shop. The thing is now, depending again on situations, the owner's benefit is far, far, far greater than mine or yours or whoever we're talking about. And again, got to be honest with yourself, but also you would hope the owner would be honest. And if you're bringing in whatever a unique skill set or you're doing stuff that brings a reputation to the shop that is helping it grow, how are you getting compensated for that? Are you getting larger and larger paychecks like that reflect this investment you've made in time and sweat?
I think typically as time goes on, when you put in that effort, the pay rate definitely goes up.
It should.
Yep. And I think the other thing that not a lot of people take into consideration is, although your job might become more mentally challenging, when you've put in all that time to learn all these things, a lot of times it can become less physically challenging, which is huge. I mean, more pay and stuff is important, obviously, but as time goes on, You've been on your feet on concrete for 20, 30, some guys 40 years. Some guys have been going to work 40 years doing this. I think that's a lot of what gets missed is people are so focused on that dollar amount and maybe not the long-term game of what I'm going to be able to do to make money and support my family as compared to if I don't take that path and I'm just, I'm going to go work at a flat rate shop and I'm going to bang ball joints in because I can put a front end in an F-250 in 45 minutes and it pays 6.5 hours. That's great. Do it for 20 years and then come talk to me. I mean, it's not that great. So I think that's something that really has to weigh into the equation, the long-term effect of what you're going to be doing on your body. Because as far as just hammering away on vehicles, most people, there's a few exceptions I can think of, a couple 70-year-olds that can really crank it still. But for the most part, what you can do as far as just straight up making money with your body ground and pound on a vehicle is there's an expiration date on that.
Yeah, nobody knows where theirs is.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, you don't know.
You're one twist away.
Yeah, you can't really be like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about this till I'm 50 because I'm going to be shot when I'm 52 and then I can figure it out between 50 and 52. I don't know if that's a good plan. I think that's part of the equation that a lot of people miss is that I know me personally, I'll still hang some iron on the cars, like if the guys are behind or something like that. But for the most part, I'm not doing nearly as much physical wrenching as I was doing even 5 years ago. Definitely not as much as I was doing 10 years ago.
Yeah, same.
I think that's something that's got to weigh on everybody's mind. That hard work, maybe even at home researching stuff for a car that's stuck in the bay, like you said. All that hard work, all that figuring stuff out. Maybe you're staying after on your own time. Maybe you do get paid to stay after, but even if you are getting paid to stay after, if you've already worked 9 or 10 hours, sometimes it's not the greatest. I can think of a good example. I got really good at fixing 6.0 Power Strokes because the first one that I really had to go deep on as far as why won't this stupid thing run, I think I had the top end of the thing off like 6 times in a week. It was horrible, and it was all after work. We didn't have time to do it during the day, so it was all, and the truck didn't fit in the building. It had a big refrigerator box on the back, right? And it was, you remember the Hunter, the P411 alignment machine?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. And you remember how like a lot of those, instead of having a rack, they just sold them with the 4 stands? You just did alignment on the 4 stands?
Yep.
So I spent about 2 weeks straight standing on top of a couple of P411 stands after work, taking this intake off, taking the valley plate off, taking the valve covers off, trying to figure out where I'm missing this oil leak in the high pressure oil system until I finally found it. And because I did that, I've literally had people bring me those trucks with the whole top end of the motor and bins in the back, and there's just no instructions required. You can look at the O-ring, you know where the O-ring goes, you put it in, right? That's an example. A couple weeks after work, every day, sometimes till midnight. I put an embarrassingly long amount of time into that truck. Embarrassing. 40 hours all day long I put into that truck to get it to run again. The thing is, down the road, gosh, it's just the stuff I learned about how it operates. Just being able, I mean, there's those trucks, when you have one that doesn't start cold, I've had them where now, because I've dealt with that one as a base, and then I dealt with so many more, I did so much with that one. When you can flip the key on engine off with no tools in the cold, and you can just tell by the way it's cycling the injectors that it needs a fuel injection control module, and you can just walk back in the shop after 30 seconds and order one, that's sweat equity, right?
That's sweat equity in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I jumped right to the sweat equity that's hard to get paid off. And honestly, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily, there's a lot of people that put in an awful lot of sweat with little to nothing to show for it, that they didn't get to the end. They didn't get to the cause. And if they did, it maybe didn't stick with them the way it could have. That because maybe arguably a lack of training didn't give them the underlying theory they needed to take what they've seen happen and apply it to other things. It's just, I got this silver bullet in my head. Now I know this sicko comes in and doesn't run. I'm going to go right for that spot. And if that's still good, then oh, crap.
Yeah, now what?
Back to step one, or that if they have some underlying theory and can retain it and understand it.
Yeah.
Now that when they find that problem, they're kind of like, oh, well, that makes sense. And then is there a way I could have found it faster? And maybe not. Not always, but sometimes. And then if you get the next one in, well, where does this fit in your process to get to that spot again if I have to, instead of the multiple times? So there's that sweat equity. I was thinking like business-wise, where
Sure.
you have people that work really hard. A lot of times, like when a business just gets started or they come into a established business that's arguably struggling or not where it could be, and because of that, it starts to realize much higher profits or kind of a turnaround. Almost like something Justin Morgan and I talked about a while ago. There's a movie called Waiting with Ryan Reynolds. It's actually quite star-studded, to be honest. But it's about a restaurant. It's making kind of like the Office Space of working in a chain type of bar and grill, kind of like an Applebee's or a TGI Fridays type setting.
Yeah. How much flair are you wearing?
Right, exactly. Towards the end of the movie, one of the characters is talking to the dishwasher, who is just so happens to be like you, borderline psychologist, and is explaining how the hiring of this one chef turned everything around because he brought with him, they call it the game. So if you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you're going to watch the movie, just maybe don't have the kids around. I don't know, whatever you want them to see, but it talks about a game that he brought with him and how it just changed the atmosphere of the business. And then the business starts to flourish, and some of the employees, especially the ones that get paid tips, were getting paid better, all because of this one person. I think there's a lot of businesses and shops that have whatever employee it may be, service advisor, technician, both, a group, a couple of good hires that are all about making the business better. They succeed, and yet at the end of all things, really all they have is their salaries and their compensations, which, I mean, I get it. In economics, there's really no ethics. They agreed to work for that pay. That was the negotiation. Did they try to go renegotiate and all that? So I'm not just standing here jumping up and down pointing at management for being nefarious or evil. But on the flip side, you would like them to realize, wow, okay, I got a couple of ringers here. I have to take care of them. What my take was when you brought this subject up was, if you're working for a successful business, and we're mainly a repair shop, a lot of times in that successful shop, and I don't mean like just outside looking in, it just kind of looks successful. I mean legitimately. A lot of times the owners have things, have stuff. The nicer house, the newer cars, a boat, cabin, a bunch of toys, quote unquote toys. They go on vacations, a little more lavish than the employees. And it's not to be, I'm not trying to pull them down. I'm not trying to deny them that. But it also sends a message to the employees, especially ones who help grow the business and make it that successful that the owner can do these things, this might sound like I'm speaking from the heart in the situation I'm in. I'm not, but I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. Unwittingly, ownership is communicating and educating those employees that if you really want to make a go of it, if you really want to have this level of success, you have to own your own business. Now, before I get too much misunderstood, the owner is on the hook for everything.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're the ones with all the risk out there.
They have all the risk. As an employee, you don't.
Yeah, they were the ones that quit their job. They were the ones that, if the whole thing goes south, the employees don't really have any bills to pay. They just grease the wheels on the toolbox and go to the next shop that's open, right?
Right, and they're probably out of a job for a few minutes, a few days.
Nowadays, minutes is probably accurate.
NAPA Autotech training sessions are being conducted day and night in a town near you. This training caters to every level within your organization, be it a mechanical assistant, a mechanical specialist, a technology specialist, or a driver safety calibration specialist. Imagine a one-stop shop training partner in NAPA Autotech that will lead your team to a path to greatness. Autotech's entry-level Build-A-Tech classes convert the untapped potential of your new hires into money-making mechanical specialists. Autotech's higher-level tech update classes introduce specialists to the world of ever-changing technologies, which prevents your shop from getting technologically stagnant. Remember, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And turning to the front of the store, the Autotech Service Advisor class is an awesome way to hone your client advocate skill set, ultimately benefiting the customer through an improved vehicle repair experience. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine an electric vehicle class that takes your specialist well past the mundane, yet necessary safety topics. Well, it's here. Autotech's EV Ready training is a week-long curriculum that takes participants through a hands-on experience involving hybrids and electric vehicles. The session kicks off with the use of PPE and proper tooling while touching on required OSHA regulations. Then, the students dive into the lab vehicles to gain knowledge of the common high-voltage components on EV and hybrid vehicles and their function. Attendees will be taken on a path exposing them to different electric vehicle manufacturers to compare component form and location. Additionally, information about Level 1 and Level 2 charging systems will be included, along with a quick look at DC to DC charging. The operation and maintenance of subsystems are explored, including the different modes of Tesla operations, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Commit to taking your business to the next level with NAPA Autotech training. We talk about this diluting pool of talent. And if you have it, and they're legitimately being held back to a degree because they don't have the risk. Ownership may have in their mind an arbitrary ceiling of, you know what, Brian, you're cracking 6 figures. You have nothing to complain about. Even though, for grins, the business is more than capable of paying you more. They have this ceiling in their head. Now, maybe 6 figures would be freaking awesome for you. Financial problems almost gone. So that's very regional. It's an arbitrary number to throw at 6 figures. But if that's the arbitrary ceiling ownership has, and they're not considering like the business could pay more, Brian wants more, like would like to start taking family on these vacations or get a nicer house, upgrade vehicles, better help kids going to college, whatever that may be. The mentality is often quickly, it's not what you make, it's what you spend. There's still an element of you have to make X amount of dollars no matter what. I guess I'm just saying is I think there's a lot of logic to recognizing the cornerstones of your business. And as an owner, you might have to subtract yourself from that, even though you absolutely are like the cornerstone of the business. There's 4 corners for sure if we want to be talking about this like a building, but
we got that going on.
There are pillars to your business.
Yeah. When Jim's not there, people want to talk to Jim. He puts in a ton of work.
So deserves the spoils too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But the problem is where I get concerned is where I have these arbitrary ideas of where these ceilings are. And then you have employees going, I'm pretty well taken care of, but if I want to live like that, then I need to go open my own shop. And now you're starting to dilute the pool. I know there's assumptions going on. There's assumptions that you have the guts to go do it, that you can get the funding to do it, that you're willing to quit your job, or how much of you moonlighting to get this new venture up and going. There's some logic for the business to go pull these people aside and say, what do we got to do to get the shop numbers to where we can start compensating for this sweat equity, whatever that may be. Is it a little bit a piece of the business? Is it, because the other thing is the shop owner sells the place. They get all the money and they're gone. And I know there's shop owners that have sold the business and gave certain employees significant amount of money because of this. But that's based strictly on their character, if you will.
Personal agreement they had, yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a topic nobody talks about.
Those are good points. I think from what I see, talking to a ton of people, I think that there's multiple pieces of the puzzle that have to come together to retain people, right? You got to have the arbitrary number thing. The issue with sweating over an arbitrary number is auto repair is like the Wild West right now. There's always some shop out there that is going to pay your guy more. It's highly unlikely that somebody that's been with you for, like, let's say even 5 years, just because of what has happened over the last 5 years, it's highly unlikely that person can't go make, right? You end up in a situation where you have these people that we got a couple guys that work for us that it's just like, I don't know what we'd do if the guy wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, I got a guy that bangs out certain jobs a certain way. He does pretty good work. It's very consistent. He's very consistently close to or even faster than book time. How would you operate without that guy? So you got to have, the money's got to be right for all the effort he's putting in. The money's got to be right. And then all the other stuff, like just stupid things you don't really think about, like the treatment has to be right. You know what I mean? He's younger than us, so he's still thinks that performance stuff is really cool. And he had his dad's truck. They were putting a couple turbochargers on and doing a rear end on, and he's got keys to the shop, so he can do that on the weekend. You know what I mean? It sounds stupid, but something that really doesn't cost you any money whatsoever just puts you so far ahead on that stuff. Because like you said, at the end of the day, if they don't have something like that and they start just looking at the number alone, if you just start looking at the number alone, you can always go work somewhere and make more money. That's you can always do it. When you see those people that put in the effort like that, it's super important, like how they're treated. You know what I mean? And I don't mean you only treat those people special, but everybody, you just make sure that you have, I hate using the word culture because it's such a hipster term and it doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, it's like communication. It just kind of gets abused. It's just
people abuse the crap out of it.
Oh, I got this tech. He's really pissing me off. What's your culture like?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, God.
I fix cars. That's my culture.
Are we trying to make cheese here? Just shut up.
Yeah, right. For lack of a better term, I don't know. The environment, the attitude, right? Like just how everybody interacts. Keeping a shop going where like a lot of these guys are friends. A lot of these guys are talking to each other outside of work. We had a service writer that quit. I still talk to him often. He's been gone for over a year. I talk to him often. Great guy. The arbitrary number game is dangerous because if you're just focused on the arbitrary number, somebody's going to pay you more. That's all there is to it. Like you said.
And I don't know what's the effort. There's some effort you can put in to find out what does it take to live in this area, whatever, swing a radius around where the shop, whatever that is, 20-minute drive, 30-minute drive, whatever, swing that radius. And then you might have to divide it up almost like a big bullseye a little bit, like the bullseye red in the short area of the shop and then phases or ranges outside of that, and going like, you could live 20 minutes away and buy this level of home, typical, whatever that may be. That's how much it costs to live. So I got this guy, got this gal working for me, married, they got 3 kids. So they would probably need a house with at least 3 bedrooms, probably 4, 2-3 bathrooms, garage. Like, what is that going to cost? And then they got to have money to save. And so, like, I guess where I was going with that is I think you hit a number where you have enough.
Yes.
And then you get a little bit more, and that's maybe even a little bit of ego in there, is that a little bit more than enough. And all of a sudden, the return on investment of more money starts dropping for the person getting the money.
It's so funny you mentioned this. I just had a conversation with somebody about this. A guy that's about 10 years younger than me. Never met him before in my life. He lives in the Bryan area of Texas. He makes a lot of money working for a chain auto repair place, the chain auto repair place that has the place that has all the scan tools and all the training. That one, the chain one. So he works for that place, and he told me, he's like, I'm making this much, but he was making good money. He's making $100,500, but his job satisfaction was super low. I told him, I said, you'll get to a point. He was doing this professionally for about 11 years. So he's been doing it professionally for about 10 years less than I have. And I said, I remember being at that stage where I thought the money was the most important thing of this whole exchange. I said, and what you'll find out is that you can probably take a $25,000 pay cut and go work for somebody who really cares that their employees feel valued, and you're going to feel a lot better about going to work every day. I think that's what he plans to do.
If he's going to where I think he's going to be richly rewarded.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And not just in his pocketbook, but really professionally, personally.
Yeah. So when we talk about sweat equity from the employee end, when you invest enough in yourself, you get to a point where you can go do something like that. You can go work for somebody like that. You know what I mean? So there's that. And I think, not to sound like everybody else on earth, I think that everybody thinks that when they're going to work and they see how much They see how much the business makes, and they're like, oh, I could go do this myself. Unless you are grossly underpaid, you are highly likely to make less money doing it by yourself than you are working for somebody.
From an ownership perspective, management perspective, speaking from my spot, which it's still heavy on the repair end, but having the ear of the owner is if one of our main people, which our main people is starting to become everybody.
That's how it is at our place.
You know, that's what's happening is now it's going to be almost everybody is the main people.
We have 19-year-old apprentice level people that I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do if this guy goes back to college. You know what I mean? Like,
but if I want them thinking like, I could open my own place. I might make a little bit more money, but I would have to spend way more time at work. I just don't want to. Friday rolls around. If the work's done, I want to cut out a little early, I can do that. Or just, we work really hard to give them some of those little unspoken, or not, I don't know about unspoken, but just intangible benefits that make them go,
yeah, that's a great phrase for it, actually.
Yeah, I really don't want to work anywhere else, and I really don't want to put in the effort for my own place because I'm doing pretty good. And it's all encompassing. It's not just the paychecks. It's the work environment. And then like one idea I had, I kind of mentioned like not how much you make, it's how much you spend. Bringing in somebody to help you with that, where behind closed doors, they can just sit down with you and go like, tell me what you really want. What do you want? Oh man, boss kind of has a cabin. I think I'd kind of like to have a cabin. Well, let's look at all this stuff. Like, you can have a cabin. It's like, really? Well, yeah, stop eating out 7 days a week.
We had a guy working for us 2 years ago, and he's not with us anymore. But I remember him looking at my truck, and he's like, ooh, it must be nice to drive like something that around. I go, Paul, how many 2 liters of Mountain Dew are you buying a day? This guy, he had a problem.
Yeah, you should be drinking diet.
Yeah. I did the math. Old Paulie, between Monster energy drinks and Mountain Dew, he was drinking himself a Lariat Power Stroke payment worth of beverages a month. And I'm like, we have free water in the fridge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or you don't have to trade in toolboxes like a truck every 2 years, 3 years. You could.
Oh, man. Don't get me started. Guys in their toolboxes.
You know what I mean? Like somebody could. And if it's coming from a financial advisor, it probably registers a little bit better than when the boss is kind of like, I pay you enough. Why do you have 3 new toolboxes in the last 5 years? Jeez, you're your own worst enemy.
We had a Snap-on guy. The deal was done. He was selling one of our guys a toolbox. I walked on the truck. I said, no, we're not doing that.
We had to do that once.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think the guy would be predatory, and he ends up being.
This wasn't predatory, I would say. I don't think that he understood the whole situation. That's all. This Snap-on guy I had he's the type of guy I'd let babysit my wallet. He wasn't predatory. He just didn't know there's 3 sides to every story, right? He just didn't know the second and third side.
Theirs, and then the truth.
Yeah, he just didn't know the other 2 sides of the story. So once and eventually he sold him a toolbox, just not right then. The timing wasn't good for him. But yeah, I mean, those are all great points. Yeah, you got to watch how you approach that, because you don't want your answer to just be, well, if you watch what you spend, you'd be doing better, because that's kind of, that goes right back to, not that it's not true. It's 100% true. But that goes right back to there's always a place that's willing to pay you more. And then the thing is with that, though, is if you find a place where I keep wanting to use the C word. I keep wanting to say culture. If you find a place where the atmosphere is, and the camaraderie is very good, what you have to remember is, sometimes the grass is always greenest over the septic tank, right?
Yes.
We've had multiple people leave and come back. Like probably 6 people leave and come back.
I know some shop owners that if you leave, they'll never let you come back. And I always thought that was the most absurd thing. There was an article, dude, this has got to be like 15 years ago, more? Bob Cirillo, who wrote for Motor Magazine. I don't think it was Motor Age. I think it was Motor. And shop owner, I think in the New York City area. And hopefully he doesn't get offended if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if it was like Brooklyn, or I don't know if I could place it quite that accurately. He does have very cool stories about the mob. Anyways, he had wrote an article, or he was a columnist, I should say, for the magazine. And I would say, God, this is 15 plus years ago. He wrote about that was one thing that he was happy to do was hire somebody back that had left for greener pastures, because they often,
You know what you're getting.
yeah, and they often ended up being like the most loyal employees, because they went out there, they found out it wasn't so great, that what they left wasn't so bad. And when they came back, they had just, their attitudes were so much better over the long haul. Like the honeymoon period wasn't quite so high, but it lasted for years, if not decades.
Yeah. We have a couple guys like that, and it's worked out pretty well. They're typically pretty happy to be there. Yeah, people, sometimes you got to find out the hard way that the grass is greenest over the septic tank. The idea that no matter what, if somebody left, you wouldn't hire them back is absurd. Because if they left, that means they were performing well enough where you didn't fire them. So that means they had acceptable performance. That means their behavior must have been acceptable. Their attitude, everything must have been acceptable. So you know what you're getting into. And at the rate new hires don't work out, I mean, are you crazy to not hire somebody back who was working just fine until they decided to go try something else? That's absurd.
I agree.
Absolutely absurd. We have a guy that was supposed to start at our one shop on Friday. This is a new hire, a guy that we've never met before. Couldn't get there Friday. He was supposed to drop his toolbox off behind the shop on Sunday and tarp it until Monday. I ran out to that shop today to do a diag for him. I go, where's the new guy? He's not starting until tomorrow. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't even get a guy to start on time. And there's guys talking about not hiring acceptable performers back. That's egotistical is all that. That's big ego talking. Yeah, that's a huge issue. Could you imagine if somebody left your shop? You had somebody that turned, let's say a guy that just, his weekly average over the course of a year is 45 hours a week, decent attitude, decided he wanted to go mow grass for one summer and you wouldn't hire him back in the fall over ego? That's stupid.
That's something I sympathize with greatly.
Oh, mowing grass?
There are days where, dude.
I want to go do concrete all summer. Is that better? Mowing grass is my go-to.
Yeah, that's my happy place.
Yeah, it's my happy place. Yeah. But seriously, think about it. I mean, that's absurd. I can't believe somebody actually said that.
It ain't just one.
Oh, that's so stupid.
I don't know. Yeah, I would just like to punish people. I like to, for comedic effect, like to entertain myself.
Yes.
But other than that, to actually punish somebody, like, I'll show you.
I like comedic effect. I have a Milwaukee leaf blower that can load up water bottles like mortar shells and just blast them over the bank of toolboxes. But I don't like to not let people come to work. That's different. That's weird.
Well, like what? They're just going to curl themselves up into a ball and just regret quitting your job for the rest of their lives? Like, who does that serve exactly?
I don't know. It was so dumb. When I heard you say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, people actually say that? That's stupid.
I don't know. Maybe I just have a bad case of ADD, ADHD. I don't know. But a lot of this stuff with the punishing people or making them pay, animosity, all that. Like, I was listening to a podcast interview with Kevin Smith, who is a director, writer, and actor. He plays Silent Bob in what they call the Red Bank collection of movies. So Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Clerks 2, Jay and Bob Strike Back, stuff like that, right? He's Silent Bob. He used to do a lot of college speaking tours. The speaking ended up being like 2 or 3 hours of stand-up comedy with all his stories. He suffers a massive, massive heart attack. So if you remember him, he was quite heavy, quite heavy.
Yeah, I think I actually know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And on stage, he's going to shoot back-to-back specials, and then they're going to mix them up into one and release it, which they did. I think they called it Silent But Deadly. He has the Widowmaker.
Oh my gosh.
And doesn't know he's having a heart attack because he doesn't have the classic symptoms. Stuff that I talked about with Bob Hype in his episode where he had some cardiac issues, heart attack. He had a Widowmaker. Anyways, lives, changes his lifestyle. I think he went on the potato hack diet for a little while, eats vegetarian or vegan for a while. And I don't know if he stuck with it. That's not important. But he loses ton of weight, gets in pretty good shape, isn't a gym rat or anything, but does hiking and all that. He's in good shape. Then he suffers a mental breakdown, just a mental break. He said a break from reality. And I think what it was is like an insane supercharged imposter syndrome, where there's the Kevin Smith that he knows and his mom knows and grew up in New Jersey and did all these things.
And then there's the one that people expect.
Right. And then now there's this character almost that it turns it on to be outgoing and talk and funny and all these things. And he just suffers this massive breakdown and works through it. Great story, whatever. But since then, he's like, I almost died and I had a break from reality. I had a mental breakdown. I am so done with negativity. That just kind of resonated with me. Like, it doesn't matter. I haven't had a heart attack yet. Maybe I will. I hope not. I hope to not have a mental breakdown. But I do know life is way too short. It goes by so freaking fast that I have no interest in being negative other than to entertain myself. I have no interest in being negative. I have no interest in being around really negative people. And I don't know, I guess just what you were saying there just resonates with me that I'm going to punish these people for whatever it is. Not wanting to work at my shop anymore and go try something else or try somewhere else. They're going to pay. I'll show them.
Yeah, how stupid. Yeah, you're showing somebody something, I'm sure, if you think so.
Man, imagine how much better everything would be. Not that our world is so bad, especially here, the United States.
You're really showing them with that empty bay that's losing $210,000 in revenue a year. You freaking showed that guy. Good job.
Bet you he cries himself to sleep.
Yeah. If only people knew how much others weren't actually thinking about that situation. You know what I mean?
We went to Perkins and I seen him working at that franchise tire store. I skipped to my car. I was so happy. Like, what?
We haven't had Perkins around here since the 90s. That makes it extra funny.
Country Kitchen.
Yeah. I went to the Bob Evans the other day. Oh, gosh. What the heck?
Came out of Timmy's.
Yeah. There we go. That's better.
I was sipping on my coffee and I saw that.
Yeah. I went to Timmy's and he's over there working for the town, raking leaves. Yeah. Probably having the time of his life, too.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I don't understand it. And honestly, like, how much better would everything be? Everybody. Just a little more honesty and a lot more grace. Like, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch.
We have a lot of younger people that work for us. We have 4 teenagers.
Running a shop or a daycare. Jeez.
Hey, these are good kids, man.
That's awesome.
We have a whole wad of adults in their 20s that work for us, just like a whole fist. I am the second oldest that is actually in a bay on the floor every day, and I'm 37. Our oldest is, I think John's turning 60 this year. I'm the second oldest. I think Gabe might be like 32. Then all the rest of them are all in their 20s or teens across 3 buildings full of guys working.
I would say our core group, so the owner and myself off to the side, just the core group in the shop, cranking hours, are between, I think, 29, 28, and 35. Now, if I can start adding a few, maybe one more in that age range, and then start bringing in, like you have, some young people.
We have a lot of young guys, and I mean, I'll tell you what, if you just decide, even though they did something really freaking stupid that makes your head want to blow off your shoulders, if you just decide to be nice, it's everything's just a lot easier. It really is. And it's not hard. Eventually you get used to the stupidity. You're just like, you know what? That's crap happens. That's what happens when you're teaching people how to do stuff. Turns out not everybody is born knowing how to do this. They all have to learn just like we did. And they mess stuff up, and we don't yell about it or anything stupid like that. We roll our eyes, say, well, that was a good idea.
Most of them are learning the stuff that, depending on if you grew up around a shop or on a farm or in some very mechanical centric type of a environment, a lot of these kids, they're learning the stuff you learned when you were 8, when they're 18 or 22.
I was just at a party this past weekend, and I was talking with a guy that grew up on a farm talking about that. I think when I was about 9 years old, I figured out that that box in the garage could be used to stick metal together. Me and my friend had to make one go-kart engine plate fit on another go-kart. We figured it out, you know what I mean? Not everybody is as privileged as that. You get a lot of these guys, you just have a good time with it. I have a guy that broke off the two, like the Jeep, the older Jeep Liberty, like a 05-ish Jeep Liberty. The rear calipers are just those two bolts that go
Yeah.
across.
Yep.
And he broke both of them off. And I walked over there and I said, Aiden, if you set the ratchet to off instead of on when you go to take these bolts out, that won't happen. We had a good time over it, and I just got the broken bolts out and whatever, you know what I mean? And yeah, I think that there's a lot of places where there'd have probably been some yelling and screaming over that. And it's like, in the grand scheme of things, who freaking cares? It's $8 worth of bolts. It's 5 minutes to crank them out of the, you know what I mean? I think that people get too worked up about that. And I don't have time for an apprentice, or I can't do this with an apprentice, or this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, well, then don't freaking sit here and get on these forums and piss and moan nonstop that you can't hire some fully competent person for $25 an hour because that's all you ever made when you were a tech. Like, just stop with it then.
That's exactly what happens. Yeah, exactly.
Just quit. Here's the deal. You weren't as good as you thought you were. You only got paid $25 an hour. Every single time, I use a cost of living calculator. So when somebody posts and they're like, I can't figure out why I can't get anybody to respond to my ad, this is good money for the area. And I said, okay. And I don't know what's good money for their area, but I know what's good money for our area. I say, send me your zip code. Do you know the furthest off I've ever had somebody cost of living was 12%? I go, you're 12. I go, your cost of living is 12% off our area. And you're trying to hire somebody for roughly half of what that person would get hired for up here.
And you read the freaking ad and it's like must have own tools, diagnose, repair. Like, oh man.
Must. Yeah.
It's like trying to hire somebody to build your house, but not only do they have to.
My favorite one that I've seen recently, must have diagnostic and fabrication skills.
Well, then they're after you.
On a serious note, how many people who can why the truck doesn't one can weld the bed back, can gusset the bed? You know what I mean? Like, it's a ridiculous concept this day and age. You see it all the time.
Like I said, it's like trying to hire somebody to build your house and they dig the foundation, they pour the foundation, or dig the basement, pour the foundation, lay the blocks, do the plumbing, do the electrical.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
There's very few people that do that. And if they do, they're not putting the house up in a month or two.
I don't know. I find for us, it just works really well. Our guys put in a lot of hard work and just kind of just being nice, do shop type things outside of work. We're going to go do something and make sure everybody gets invited. And yeah, I think it's so important to have that atmosphere. And that's the only way you really fight the amount of work they've put into your business. The money is one aspect, but like you said, it gets to a point where it's just counterproductive.
It doesn't make things better.
No. Once they hit whatever that number is, whatever the magic number is that they need to live and do what they want to do, and then the little bit extra, like, it doesn't really help them. It's just them spending more money typically, right?
You want to be all economical and capitalist about it. What I've noticed in our shop is, I would say probably a little more than the last 5 years, but somewhere in there, just for a number, we'll say over the last 5 years, that the incomes have gone up quite a bit.
I would agree.
And particularly because not only just the market demand, but also the shop itself working hard with the bonus plan, the profit sharing, has done a really good job of putting more money in everybody's hands. Okay. What I've noticed is, yes, some of them have gone and spent money on a car that they probably really didn't need, or certain things, whatever. What I've also noticed is 7 years ago, the Boy Scout came in selling popcorn. Maybe everybody'd buy a box of the microwave stuff.
Sure.
Here's $5, $10, whatever it was. Now, a lot of them are buying more. Oh, here for my parents and for me and the kids. And next thing, they're writing checks or handing kids cash for $50, $100. they're talking about stuff they did over the weekend where they went and helped somebody out, and like now they have the money to put back into the local economy as well as just do nice things. Like they can afford to be charitable, where before you didn't know they even wanted. They never talked about it. It didn't matter. They couldn't.
Yeah, they weren't doing it out of necessity to be able to budget their own household.
Right. Now that they have enough money and hopefully a little bit more, and we're going to keep working on that number getting bigger and bigger, I'm seeing them do things that not too long ago they couldn't have.
Sure.
And it's fun to see. Like it's something where I got to almost drag my boss out and say, hey, check that out. Like this should resonate with you. That should make you feel very, very good.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I think most of our guys are kind of young for that type of stuff, but I definitely see it out of a couple of them.
Yeah, and it's a lot of times it's opportunity.
Yeah, similar situation.
When you're 20, you're usually not hanging around a lot of people that need it. Start getting older, and
you'll see one of the guys that has something that's worth quite a lot, and instead of throwing it on Marketplace, one of the younger ones needs something. He's like, here, you can just have this.
Perfect example too. Yes.
I'm just thinking one of our guys used to be a tech, and he service writes for us now, and he does a great job service writing, and he has the Snap-on Torx and hex bit set, the one, not the Blue Point, the actual Snap-on, the one that is actually in the flyer this week for $1,032. That's the sale price, because it's usually like $1,250 or something. They're quite expensive now. He has that set from years ago. I can actually remember when him and I bought them at the same time, they were on sale for about $500. And I was like, you need to buy this right now because this is a good deal. So anyways, he had this thing laying around, and we got one of our young guys is like 19 years old. He's like, I was going to put it on Marketplace, but I'm just going to give it to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas the thing on Marketplace, you could probably put it on Marketplace for $300 and probably be gone by noon. You know what I mean? So yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Toys for Tots. I don't remember anybody that I worked with going and buying toys to throw in the Toys for Tots bin. They do now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Trying to pay back that sweat equity, which I guess I don't even mean sarcastic. Like for the most part, trying to keep that in mind, that they feel like they're being rewarded. And I think the nature of our profit sharing does that. And then the next is how to make them feel like they have a stake, that they're just not building up this, for lack of a better term, empire for somebody else, that they feel like they're really a part of it.
Sure. We do that. We have guys that we put in charge of certain things, and guys that aspire to maybe one day own one of the shops and stuff like that.
Yeah, even if it's just a piece of it.
Yeah. Kind of started laying rough groundwork for that. At least having conversations, if nothing else. You know what I mean? That's not me. I'm going to go mow grass.
Form your own board.
Yeah, I'm going to go mow grass. So that's not me. My house is too close to paid for.
Instead of sports cars lined up, you're going to have like lawnmowers. Like today feels like an X-Mark day.
Different pairs of New Balances.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think that we strayed way off the topic, but I think we got the point across.
I don't know if I've ever stayed on topic. Honest.
Yeah, that's okay too.
Actually, it takes a few hard rights
to make a left.
Yeah, 3 rights make a left. I really appreciate you coming on, sir.
Yeah, no, it was good.
It's a good topic.
Definitely. I think there's a lot of takeaways in this.
Definitely. Thank you all for listening. Thank you so much to the Aftermarket Radio Network, including Tracy.
Poor Tracy's going to have to edit this.
Rumor has it she edits these things, but I mean, come on. What would she have to edit out?
All of a sudden, working on cars just sounds a lot easier.
Yeah. Thank you to the NAPA Autotech training for sponsoring and really making this show possible. If you have thoughts about this episode or other episodes, or an idea for an episode, or want to be on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can email me at mattfanslowpodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'm pretty easy to find on social media. Just ask the hackers. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Matt Fanslow, Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fanslow on social media and connect, or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.